Welcome to the Fantasy Nut Show.
Good evening, everyone out there in Radio Land, and welcome to the Fantasy Nuts. Jay Ferraro, Adam Hamway with you, having a friendly conversation about the world of sports. The fun and games start right now here on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Sirius 210 XM87. Adam, wake up. It's time to talk sports.
Let's do this.
Are you awake?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here, guys.
It's pretty late, but it's a nice time to talk sports, is it not?
It's a beautiful time to start sports. There's a lot that happened today, and I would love to chat with you about it, the listener at home.
So much to talk about. I mean, first of all the games that happened tonight, of course, Justin Verlander lost again. A lot of big opportunities for scoring there with Tulo and Nelson Cruz, of course. We got to talk NBA a little later in the program.
Definitely.
The Spurs, another NBA title, Adam.
They just
destroyed
the Heat.
5 titles.
Cinco.
5 titles.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Not a lot of teams can say that they've done that.
No.
They're one of the, I think they might be the third most winningest NBA team.
Maybe.
I think, no, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
No,
I believe you.
I think I'm right.
I believe you.
I was watching that on Nibba, NBA. I was watching that.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, and there's so many other things we're going to talk about, all the games that are happening, and we're going to be joined a little later in the program by Corey Parsons. He's going to give us a little insight what's happening a little later. When we go to bed, there's more shows that happen on the channel.
I thought that was it, that they shut down and nothing happens, and then they just flip the switch when the morning show
Adam
happens
just
again.
dropped all his soda all over his nose
It was
and
coffee.
all over his pants.
It was coffee.
Is it
Very
hot?
warm pants right now. Oh, man. I really did.
Wow, you
It's
really
more-
did just do that. That's okay.
Wow, that's okay.
So, so everything we talked about.
You wouldn't want to put me in the game.
No,
Bench
you'd be
me.
out. Bench you.
me for
We don't want to draft you. We don't want to put you on any of our lineups. And, you know, we got to talk about something that's really pressing to me and that I'm really concerned with, and that's the whole landscape of fantasy baseball and the keeper league in fantasy baseball, Adam. And in my opinion, the fantasy baseball keeper league is dead. It's over. RIP, put it in the ground, sing Amazing Grace. Because for me, the time has passed where in this world where the daily fantasy game has taken over, sorry folks out there who play fantasy baseball, it's the truth. You do not want to have to field a roster of men who play 162 games where weather's a factor because there's a lot of obviously rain now. It's not like we're talking about fantasy basketball or fantasy hockey. They play underneath a roof. We're not talking about football where basically they're out there no matter what the weather conditions are. You're talking about also a sport where a day game after a night game, a player might not play his respective game because if he's a catcher and he played the 7 o'clock game on Tuesday, that Wednesday 1 o'clock game, he might not be in the lineup. 162 games, then you factor in steroids. Now, the PED epidemic is something now in fantasy baseball that is hurting it because of the fact that if these players aren't going to be able to juice up as normally, they're missing time. And you've seen it all year. All the big name guys that keep getting hurt, you know, Jose Fernandez. I mean, the list goes on and on. Not saying all these guys would have used performance-enhancing drugs, but maybe now the temptation to do so isn't there and they're missing time. So how can you, in good faith, put all these guys on your roster for this huge grinding fantasy season? I'm done with it. It's over.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Is what it is. You know, you don't want to have the same players playing day in and day out.
No.
You know, because it's just not going to work out. So you have to have depth to be able to put the people in that you know. You don't want you want to have much depth on your bench, and you want to be able to put in the players that are going to be doing well, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, you want to have some variety with who you're picking and who you're choosing to be on your squad.
And that's why every day works. The squads.
Yeah, the squads.
Yeah. Your
Every
fantasy
day.
squad every day.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
you have to
You
keep the
have
same
to do
guys
it.
in
No,
there,
it's stupid.
It's silly. It's
Yeah,
silly.
Why play? Like, seriously, why would you play if you're going to do that? That's just idiotic. And
Yeah.
you're not going to win. Really, you're not going to win.
Everyone's a loser. Will Myers, the belle of the fantasy ball. You know, he was in that big trade going over from Tampa, going to Tampa from the Royals, the James Shields deal. During his rookie campaign last year, the .293 batting average, 13 home runs, 23 doubles, and everyone's saying, we got to keep this guy. This is the best prospect in baseball. Well, 69 games into the 2014 season, he's batting .227. He's on the disabled list, by the way. Only 5 home runs, 25 RBI. This is a guy everyone's talking about. We got to keep him. We got to keep him. This is a keeper league. This is a dynasty league. We need this guy every single day. No, you don't. You need him in a particular night, at a particular ballpark, against a particular pitcher, because David Murphy, a guy who out there in the fantasy world is only rostered, let's say, on an AL only, a deep league. He has a 271 batting average, which is better than Will Myers, right? We're doing math here. 5 home runs is the same, but 37 RBI.
Yeah.
Adam, this is a guy that nobody cares about, no one's paying attention to. He has better numbers than this other dude that everyone is salivating over. It's not always about the sexy name. It's dead. Fantasy baseball keeper leagues are dead.
Yeah, you have to do your research. And like I was saying earlier, you do have to have depth. You're going to have to get this binder, this thick binder. You're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to look at things from previous years, look at these statistics, and build a team. Build a team
for that particular night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to know what's going on. You have to know the ballpark, like you were saying before. Yep. You have to know how they play in that ballpark. Really do research here. You can't just wing this thing. If you want a winning team, you have to play smart and do the research involved
every day. And that's what makes
every
it fun.
Single day.
And that's why we're fantasy nuts, because the fact is you don't want to just draft a guy. And you and I were talking about this off the air today. You don't want to just draft player A and just put him out there every single day because I drafted him, that's what I'm going to do, and then you don't even pay attention to it. You want the nitty-gritty every day, and let's face it, you want to win some cash.
Of course.
And a lot of these websites where you could do the daily fantasy leagues, it's all about winning that cash, and that's why we do it. Now, fantasy football, you and I were intoxicated on the couch. We're eating chicken wings. We're busting our friends' balls. That's what we're doing when it's fantasy football time.
Football is so much more relaxing. You got the whole week to decide what's going on.
So that's what goes on there. So it's totally different. It's dead. And of course, we want to hear from everyone out there because, look, you and I, we've made some boneheaded fantasy football moves intoxicated on the couch on Fantasy Sunday.
I don't really want to talk about
You know what I mean?
this. We have to talk about it?
We have to talk about this.
Okay.
This is important.
Okay, all right.
Because how many times has this happened? You're on the couch, you're 7-8 beers in.
Eating my chips.
Eating your chips.
Yep.
And it's not even halftime of the first game, by the way, and you're already 8 beers in, chicken wings, chips, and everything. You go to the potty. You're sitting there.
Take a leak, guys.
You pull out your phone because, look, let's face it. 1 out of 5 people, they make fantasy moves while they're sitting on the potty. It just happens, folks. I made about 5 today on the potty. I can't help it. I have the app. What am I supposed to do? So you're there. You're on the potty. It's Sunday. You're intoxicated. And you're like, I'm going to drop this guy. I'm going to make this move with my buddy. The drunk applications, when it's Sunday, you can't do it. But that's why I want to hear from everyone out there in the fantasy world. You could hit us up at SiriusXM Fantasy, or, of course, the Facebook page. You can give us a call at 888-963-2682. That's 888-XM Fantasy. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you think about the fantasy keeper leagues. We also want to hear from you to say, what was the worst fantasy move you've ever made while intoxicated on Sunday?
Sunday.
We're going to talk to some people. We get back, Adam.
Ooh.
This is the Fantasy Nut Show. Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Nuts. Jay Ferraro, Adam Hamway with you. We're keeping you here all night long. We're staying up late.
Trying to.
You're drying your pants off.
Oh, my gosh. I spilled, if you weren't listening earlier, I spilled a giant full cup of coffee all over my pants. Oh, it was warm. It was nice in the beginning. Now the air conditioning here in the studio is really cold.
That's what we have to do.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are we going to do? We're going to take some calls right now. And Dan from Buffalo is on the air with us. Dan, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. How are the garbage plates up there? You been eating some garbage plates?
No, I eat a lot of buffalo wings, bro.
Buffalo wings? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
You don't go up to Rochester, or as I like to call it, Crochester, and get some garbage plates?
No.
Make some poor fantasy decisions?
No.
Okay.
Now, Dan, we posed the question here, and I guess that's why you're giving us a call. What's the worst move you've made while intoxicated on Fantasy Football Sunday? Because you sound like a gentleman who does enjoy his beverages when it comes to watching football and participating in fantasy football.
Actually, that is how all of my Sundays can be spent. I'm going back a couple of years. I was actually in a championship game, and having a championship team, I was loaded, and I needed to bring in a wide receiver. I don't remember what I ended up doing, but I did drop Cedric Benson, who, as all fantasy people know that guy's garbage. I thought I could drop him. My opponent picked him up in a plug-and-play. I ended up losing the championship because I drunkenly dropped Cedric Benson when, I definitely didn't have to do it.
Sure.
And it's something that haunts me to this day. 5-6 years later,
and
I lost thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Thousands of dollars.
And it doesn't bite your butt that it's Cedric Benson? It's not a big trade that happened. You didn't move a Calvin Johnson off your team. Adam, it's Cedric Benson, a guy that's basically duty out there in the world. And Dan, before we let you go, the big topic tonight was fantasy baseball as keeper. Are you still a fan? Are you a guy that plays fantasy baseball? Do you like the keeper aspect of fantasy baseball, or are you a daily league guy yourself?
I got to say, I like keeper in all my leagues. If I can get in a keeper league for football, keeper league for baseball, I like to do it because that's where the hardcore fans are and the people that actually follow the sport and know the sport from year to year are. So I prefer to always be in keeper leagues, not a daily league guy.
Okay, fair enough. Dan, thanks for the call.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Disagree, but
I mean, the Cedric Benson, and that's the thing. Like, it's always the smallest things, Adam, in this fantasy world. We could sit here, we could talk about, all the games greats. We could talk about Max Scherzer in baseball. We could talk about Calvin Johnson in football. We could talk about LeBron James in fantasy basketball. But when it comes down to it, it's those little guys.
Yeah. Yeah, those little choices that you make, and you're just like, this ain't going to affect anything. And then all of a sudden, boom, bang, you're down a few $1,000s because of a poor decision.
Dan sounded loaded right now on the phone.
Yeah, he
was
did.
He drunk?
I think he was.
I mean, if we're drunk,
It's like
he
2
has to
a.m.
be drunk.
My pants are drunk with coffee.
Got a little drunk last night. Eli Young Band. I saw Eli Young Band. They opened for Darius Rucker. I went to see Darius Rucker at Mohegan Sun.
Were they good?
And no, I didn't like them at all.
Okay.
That was Randy Hauser that running out of Moonlight before that we came back from commercial with. But no, Darius, that's my jam. The Hootie years and now what's going on there. Oh, yeah. Next up is Mark from Oakland. Mark, how you doing?
Good. What's up, guys? How are you?
I'm okay. I got coffee on my pants, but other than that, I'm doing fantastic.
We're doing all right here. Now, excuse me, Mr. Mark, what do you have to say about this fantasy keeper league out there? Are you a guy that are you a fan? We both dislike fantasy baseball keeper leagues. We're going to talk about this all program. Where do you stand on the matter?
I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but I have to agree with the last caller, Dan. I love any fantasy sports. The dedication, the time commitment you have to put in not only for one season, but for years after that. Totally love keepers. That's the way to do it.
It's tough, man. It's a commitment.
That's right. What's wrong with that? I mean, look at me right now. I'm my team, Gregory Polanco. Look how that's paid off. I mean, this guy's unbelievable, and he's only played about 5-6 games already.
But now, what about this? And what about the guy that kept a Justin Verlander or kept an Eric Hosmer, who last year 302 average, 17 home runs, but now this year he's batting 264, 4 home runs in 69 games into the year. You kept Eric Hosmer because this is supposed to be a beast. This is supposed to be a guy every single night that you could plug out there, and now he's putting up these duty numbers for you because you had to keep him instead of just rolling with him on a Tuesday afternoon because he's playing against the White Sox, and you're playing against that ballpark. It's,
Well, hey, I understand this frustration, but you know what? That's just a part of the game. Some guys are going to struggle here and there. So.
I think the best thing is to have 2 leagues. You just do it that way. You can have a keeper league, and then your keeper team, and then you also have your other.
Yeah.
That way you can play both ways. It's a lot of work, of course, but once you pick that keeper team, you don't have to mess with that. Then the other one, you do a day to day.
Hey, we're the fantasy nuts. We can have as many leagues as we want.
It's true, of course. Why are you limiting it to one? You could do anything you want.
Now, before we let you go,
fantasy.
It's fantasy. Before we let you go, what's the worst move you've ever made on Fantasy Football Sunday while intoxicated?
Well, I have to go back to last year. It was a regular season matchup, so it wasn't as big as Dan's in the championship involved in money. But I started Danny Amendola against the Saints. And what was the stat line, guys? 2 catches, 0 yards, okay? Nothing. Goose egg. I should have started Julian Edelman. Now, his number is not sexy, 5 catches, 57 yards, but of course I would have won that week if I started Mr. Edelman.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Those are the breaks.
I mean, it happens to coaches when they're starting players. They don't do anything for the entire day. They're out there on the football field.
Well, thanks for the call. Thanks for joining us. Go back to bed. Wow, everyone out there in the world and in the community and on the Facebook page and on the SiriusXM Fantasy Twitter handle, we're not getting a lot of love for this.
Jay, that's why I say this is why I say there should be 2 leagues. You can play both ways, and that way, you're feeling more satisfied, I guess. That way you don't have to worry about having this keeper league and then being upset mid-season, maybe in the beginning part of the season, that you made a poor choice. Just have 2, Plus, you don't really have... I mean, obviously, you do your research way in advance to pick your keeper team, but then you have the option of doing the day-to-day every single day. So you don't have to worry about that once you make that final decision to have that keeper team on that league. And then the other one, do your day-to-day. Nobody's faulting you on that. Then you're in the grind. And then if the other one won't do so well, so be it. At least you got this other thing to think about to keep your life lively.
It sounds like I'm on my own fantasy island.
Yeah, exactly.
The plane. That's before my time. I've never seen it.
You never saw that, huh?
Did you watch it?
No, I never did either.
They were all on an island, and there was like naked people walking around.
I think so. I don't know.
Naked Fantasy Island.
Gilligan's Island?
On Fox. Well, we have a wonderful thing that we want to start to do on the program here, because a lot of people that listen, they call up Adam and they text us and they tweet us and they do all these things and they say, you know what, we're not necessarily the savvy fantasy guy that plays all the time. We know all the terminology. We're always throwing out the head-to-head terminology, IDP, all the fancy terms that we use throughout the show. So we wanted to bring on somebody who really wanted to speak with us about this. And this is the former president, George W. Bush, is kind enough to join us in studio.
And I'm going to step out.
Sure.
Actually, you know what? I'll stay. Whatever.
You want to stay?
Yeah, I'll stay for this. Because I was going to... Are you okay? Yeah, I'm all right with that. You could stay here. Just swing the microphone over. All right. Okay, whatever. No problem, Mr. President. Really appreciate you being here. It's good to be here. I popped a squad right on this guy's coffee seat.
Wow. Okay, well.
That's dedication. As I like to call it. It's good to be here. No presidential music. Usually I get that. No, nothing. Thank you. You're excellent. You're done to us.
Well, George W., thanks for joining us on the program. We know you're a big painter now.
Yeah, big painter. I brought a painting for you.
Oh, this is very nice.
Oh, yeah, look at it. Let me just, see there, I just...
Why don't I have any pubic hair, though? If you're going to draw a nude, I mean, I think I deserve some pubic hair.
I thought you were a groomer, so I decided to eliminate the pubic hair.
Okay, well, that's fair. All right. I mean,
you look like a guy. I know you got a lot of hair there with the bird.
Yeah.
But I decided to give you a true nude.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. That's very lovely. And of course, your father jumped out of a plane, his 90th birthday or 90-plus birthday.
That guy's got a lot of kahunas. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm here because there's a lot. I've got a lot of spare time on my hands. And I paint, but I want to get into this fantasy stuff. I hear all about it. It's mythological, and I just wanted to see how it all works. I know that there's some terminology that I have to go through, so I just want to go through this with you if that's possible.
Yep,
right?
we have all the time in the world, Mr. President.
Okay, well, tell me.
Okay,
what do we got?
Well, let's say if I said to you mock draft. What comes to your mind?
It's like fake. It's in preparations for the actual draft.
Okay.
So it's a practice, like a mock. Mm-hmm. Okay. Or you make fun of it. You make fun of a draft.
Like what you sort of did during your presidency.
Yeah. Hey, you're a kidder. Hey, Jay, you're funny. All right, calm down, Mr. President. I'm going to attack this guy. No, don't do that. All right, so yeah, make fun of a draft, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what I'd think. What is it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. You do a mock draft before the season begins, and if it's, we're talking fantasy football, it's a fake draft. You're preparing yourself to the real deal. Like when you were in Yale doing all that cocaine and partying hard, drinking, having sex with probably a lot of beautiful women.
Hey now.
That was your mock draft.
Laura's my one and only.
To become the president of the United States, not just once, but twice. Mm-hmm. But Mr. President, that second election, come on,
It takes skill. You got other terms here.
Yeah, we have other terms here.
All right, the one that I always get.
Yeah.
And I wish I had this. Is a cheat sheet.
Cheat sheet.
A cheese sheet.
No, not cheese. Cheat.
Oh, all right. I thought it was cheese sheet. Or so I thought that's what they called it. Because I would love to have a nice sheet of cheese.
That would be
Cut
nice.
it up.
Yeah.
You know, get a nice piece of French bread. Francoise.
Yeah.
And just layer it with different, you slice it just like, when you're at the Federal Reserve and you get new crisp dollar bills. I'd like to put that sheet of cheese in there and just slice it up and put it on the Francoise bread and just pucker down.
I'm a big fan of just eating cheese and jam and bread together. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the brie.
The what?
The brie cheese.
Oh, brie cheese. Yeah.
I heard that the other day that they might not be selling that anymore. The FDA's cracking down.
It's over.
Yeah, we might not be able to have any aged cheese or cheeses with rind.
Oh, it's over for the cheese.
Yeah, it might not be good.
These are the best parts of the cheese.
I know it is. I love the brie.
Okay, so ADP. That's a big one when we talk about.
That's a company that writes the checks. It comes in the mail. ADP. It's like for direct deposit sometimes, but you hire them and they cut the checks. I see it every time I deposit.
well,
right? Isn't that what that is?
Well, it's a little bit different than that. That's average draft position, and that's when a particular, like Sammy Watkins, who was drafted by the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
And of course, our caller before, Dan, we should have talked to him about Sammy Watkins, but he was a rookie. He's a rookie. He got drafted this year. The Bills, they moved up in the draft to get him, and his average draft position is going to be through the roof because this is a guy who is a rookie. He comes out of college thinking that everyone's talking about him being the next Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not putting him on my fantasy team because this is a rookie, unproven in the NFL.
Right.
He's going to be a beast in the NFL. You know what I mean when I call someone a beast, right?
Yeah, like a monster.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. President, you're getting this.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
You're getting this.
You're saying a lot of words, but it's hard to keep up. But
Right.
I'm treading.
So now, in fantasy leagues, there's bench players. Everyone has bench players.
Okay.
In fantasy basketball,
Are those the guys that build benches?
No,
They grab like a cherry tree or something. They start cutting and they start making benches.
Well,
bench players,
no.
guys. We're not gonna put you on. You guys are gonna make some benches.
No,
Is that right?
No, it's not really that, Mr. President.
Okay.
It's a good guess, Your Excellency. But a bench player is someone who doesn't get put into your lineup every single day.
Okay.
Let's say baseball, right? You're a big Texas Rangers fan.
I love the Rangers.
Right? Big
George W. Bush is a big Texas Rangers fan.
Okay. So Mitch Moreland, before the Prince Fielder injury that put him out for the year, Mitch Moreland was a bench player, got some time at first, got some time at DH, but now that Prince Fielder's out for the year, he moves from a bench player to an everyday player. So he's the guys that are on the bench and then get put in.
I understand.
You do.
Yeah, I'm following along here. Now this other thing is kind of crazy here.
Yeah.
It's called a blind bleeding.
What's that?
A blind bleeding. Now if you can't see, then I don't know how you're doing it. Blind bleeding.
A blind bidding. Well,
Yeah.
no.
How are you supposed to do it? What do you guys you put a bandana on your head?
No, well, this is different. This is in place so there can't be cheating in leagues. There's a lot of cheating, Mr. President, in fantasy leagues. Like, let's say you were running for a presidency and the state in which there were all these hanging chads happens to be the state where your baby brother or older brother is the governor.
Can we cut his mic?
Well, I'll stop because your Secret
okay.
Service men are looking
they're
at me a little
outside.
bit funny.
Yeah, they got pistols.
Adam, do you have anything you want to say to the president here?
I think he's doing a fantastic job. A little skewed
Yeah.
with some of the things. Hey, you watch it. I know darn well what I'm doing, huh? Yes, you do. No, I think what I want to know is, do you know what a fantasy general manager or owner is? Whoa, fantasy general manager. I think that's like a mythological creature that comes down and just kind of he just uses his sorcery. And he uses a baton and he kind of figures out what he wants to do with all of the other monsters that he's kind of orchestrating. Kind of like a conductor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
That's pretty
Pretty accurate.
accurate, actually.
I would say. And then they wear the white wigs, right?
Yep.
And they start to get the batons, and they're like 1, 2, 3, and everybody just starts doing their thing, and they're whipping their batons around to make sure everybody's in order. Like a conductor is what you're. Yeah, conductor. Yeah, those guys are good.
Well,
basically, yeah, but they're not monsters. I mean, well, I guess it depends on who's the owner of, the fantasy team. But basically, you are me. Yeah, you. You saying I'm a monster? No, I'm not saying that you're a monster at all in the slightest. Because I got Secret Service guys out here. If you're going to call me a monster, they're grinding at the gears. They're in the football position at the line. They're about ready to tackle you. All right, listen, I don't want any trouble, Jay.
Yeah, you guys, everyone needs to calm down. And plus, the Secret Service, they're nowhere to be found because somebody walking through the main entrance is some teeny bopper that they're really excited to see. There's always a dignitary walking in here. Unfortunately,
is
Mr.
that where you're
President,
going to find Bill Clinton?
Well, Mr. President, we're going to leave on a nice note there.
Oh,
thank you so very much for joining us on the program. And look, you're doing fantasy football for the first time this year. We want to have you back during the year. You can tell us how your league's going.
Absolutely. Me and the other former presidents of the United States of America, we're going to get together, put our heads together, and come up with our own league. Ex-president of the Ustedes of Americanas. It's going to be good.
It sounds like it's going to be good, Mr.
Papa
President.
Squat. It's going to be a hefty ride.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Mr. George W. Bush joining us on the program. That's
I like
nice.
that. That was cool.
Yeah.
How did you book that, Jay?
Well, you know what? It's
He didn't seem like you guys liked each other or knew of each other. I don't know how you did it.
The thing is, when you've been working in show business as long as you and I both have,
you lie.
You lie. Well, first of all, you absolutely lie. I mean, absolutely. That's number one. But you meet people in the music industry and TV and film and of course politicians. It's just it's a devious web we weave.
Yeah, that's true. You just got to network, get to know people,
right?
And that's how you get ahead there. Always network, always talk to people, and that goes all back to fantasy. I mean, you have to talk to people. You don't always just do your research and everything.
No,
but you always want to go back and talk to people, see what their ideas are and thoughts on people. Just like you guys are listening to us right here. On the radio and on SiriusXM. Like you want to listen to us so you get an idea. It's a conversation. Call us up. We want to hear your thoughts.
That's right.
So we can make your teams better.
And it goes with gut. You have to go with your gut because
That's true.
A lot of times when it comes to, that guy you want to put in your flex spot in fantasy football, when you're talking about that flex spot and you're going to go with that backup tight end, are you going to go with that other wide receiver for this Sunday because of the fact the defense he's going up against, has given up a lot of receiving yards this year. I mean, there's all these factors, and we could tell you as much as you want to hear. And look, we're not experts. You're not an expert. I'm not an expert. A lot of people on this channel, they're experts.
Right.
They know the ins and outs. We're trying to have some fun and talk fantasy sports with everyone. We're having a nice conversation. Yeah. But ultimately, go with your gut. Go what's in your pants, because ultimately, you need to play fantasy sports like you got something in your pants.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You do. I mean, you want to play
penis.
for you.
A penis
Is that
joke.
what you mean? Oh,
Well,
is that what that? Okay.
Penis.
Okay. I didn't know you can say.
Can
what
you not
that
say
is.
penis? We're going to take another commercial break here. And, of course, everyone who wants to give us a call at 888-XM Fantasy. Hit us on SiriusXM Fantasy. The Fantasy Nuts are going to take a break. We're going to eat some chips. We're going to have some coffee. And we're going to talk more fantasy sports with you.
These guys are fantasy nuts.
Welcome back to Fantasy Nuts. Jay Ferraro, Adam Hamway with you. And we want to talk about some more sports around the world. And the passing of Tony Gwynn.
Oh, so sad.
So
Great
sad.
player.
So young.
Yeah. Was he 54, right?
Yeah. And, this was one of the guys where all you need to know about Tony Gwynn, and if you're too young to have seen him play and everything else, is that the greatest hitter of all time is Ted Williams. There's no argument there. Everyone says that. And then when you talk about the names after Ted Williams, like in every other sport, there's always Jordan versus LeBron versus Julius Erving versus Jerry West, or in baseball, this guy against that guy. But when it comes to baseball and the best hitter, it's Ted Williams. And right next to his name is always Tony Gwynn with what he did with hitting. And it's a tragic loss for the baseball world.
Yeah, he was so good for the Padres, and he's one of those players that stays with the team, and this is going to spark our other discussion in a little bit here, but about the NBA. But I really liked him. I liked watching him play.
Yeah.
And he is just so young, and this is kind of sends a message, I think, out there about chew, about tobacco use, and because
Excellent point. Excellent point.
You know what I mean? And that's why he passed away from cancer, mouth cancer, I guess is what they call it. And I mean, it's just it sends a message, and we know that it's difficult. We're not saying that it's just like just quit, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's tough when you get into an addiction like that. It's hard to step away from it, and in some cases, it becomes too late when you do, and the damage is done.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, and Major League Baseball came down on this, and they have, tried to avoid chew, which they have, and it's now I remember this like it was yesterday, when they said that people cannot chew, but then they replaced it with something else. I forget what it was. It was something similar, but they promoted, chewing gum.
Yeah.
To use chewing gum. But I mean, this is something that's ongoing, and it's something that everybody is going to be struggling with. You do, even if you're not even. I know hosts at SiriusXM. I'm going to name names that chew
During the show.
No, it's like an on and off type thing. Usually before the show, sometimes on the show.
Are you chewing
I remember
right now?
I am a little bit. No, I'm not. No, I'm fine.
Okay.
No, I'm not. But I know that a lot of people deal with this.
Yeah.
And it's just something that when you see something like this, it's a good. If you could take one good thing about him passing, it could be that this is sending a message to people because of
You're right.
The attention and his fame.
If anyone out there is still doing it, it's time to stop because of something like this.
Yeah.
And, this was a guy, amazing pure hitter. He owned during his time of play the best pitchers of his generation, the Tom Glavines of the world, the Greg Maddoxes of the world, the John Smoltz. He owned those guys. He batted over 300 against all of them. And not only that, when you look at the physique, now look, I'm not as well, buff like you.
I'm not,
Mr. Hamway.
No.
But this dude was not the typical athlete. When you looked at him, he was a fat guy, right? I mean, we could say it.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn was a fat guy, but he was just the best guy on the field when he played most of the time, the best hitter on the field, and he was the out of shape guy. He won a bunch of Gold Gloves, even though we don't know him for that. And the Gold Glove award in Major League Baseball at time is a silly award because people win it who don't even play the position at times. But not saying that he did that, yeah, it's a tragic loss, but, you said something, you hit the nail on the head. He played with one team.
Yeah.
It was Cal Ripken Jr. with the Orioles,
Right.
Derek Jeter with the Yankees, and the thing with baseball is you still have that.
You do, right.
And unfortunately, in all these other sports, you don't have that, and you have these hybrid teams. And in the NBA right now, can we say it's a weird epidemic?
Oh, my gosh. I'll be perfectly honest. Years ago, back in the 90s, I'm 31, I loved watching this, and I loved watching basketball with my brothers, and it was those teams. I mean, it was, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Mark Jackson, those players would play on that team for the entire career.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, played with the Chicago Bulls for his entire career until, obviously later on, but, he ran into a couple, issues later on in his life, but still, he played a grand span of his life with the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
Now we just, wrapped up the NBA Finals here, and it was, and I watched this year, to the NBA Finals. Some years I'm on and off with it, but I'm like, I'm going to watch this again, and I've slipped being a basketball fan because of this, because now you're seeing people become so focused on themselves and focused on just winning the championship for themselves instead of winning it for the team.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And what you know about great teams that have won in the NBA, when we talk about those Bulls teams versus these Heat teams, and it's not even an argument. Those
Lakers.
Bulls teams are so much better than these Heat teams. It's not even funny. There's an argument that people have been bringing up, and Jordan versus LeBron, all these LeBron haters. It's just getting old. It's too old now. They got together. The 4 years they were together, they won 2 championships. They were in all 4 finals. But when you think about those Bull teams and all those role players, the Steve Kerrs of the world, Horace Grant, Tony Kukoc, Luke Longley, all those names. Outside of the big 3 with this Heat during this run, and then they brought in Ray Allen, of course, future Hall of Famer, they just surround them with these, hobo role players that you don't know their names, and they didn't contribute, and that's why they only won 2 out of 4. And look, 2 out of 4 is freaking fantastic.
It's amazing.
But Now, what's going to happen at the end of this season? Carmelo might leave the Knicks, and then
he might
maybe
go to Miami.
Dwayne Wade's gone. He might go there. And then after this season, with Kevin Love being a free agent, and then, of course, Rondo, then maybe all these guys are together. And if you're that fan base, you're excited. If you're a Heat fan, you've been absolutely balls to the wall excited this whole time all this is happening because you want to win, you want to see this.
Yeah.
And I get all that. But from a perspective like you talked about, and I'm a Knicks fan as well, all those years when Ewing played with Starks and all these guys were together, every year was like, this is the team. This is us, not just a bunch of hired guns. And this is coming from a Yankees fan. And I know a lot of people say, well, they buy championships, this, that, and the other thing. But just this sense in basketball right now, it's really ruining the sport.
Yeah, it is. It's you never know where a player is. And now, like, if you were to... Like, even LeBron, you'd be like, well, what team did he play for? And then you have to think about it. Be like, well, he was with the Cavaliers, then he was with the Heat, and then, who knows where he'll be in a few years, too, because, he'll have a change of mind and go somewhere else, too. Years ago, if you were to say, like Kevin Garnett, wow, he was with the Timberwolves for like forever. He's older now, obviously, but, you can definitely put a stamp. Sean Kemp. Seattle Supersonics. Like, you just know, like, that's it. That's where they made their home. Did they win championships in those towns? No, but they're great talent, and that's dedication to that team. That's bringing people to the stands. The fans are going to see that star.
And you're right about
and
that.
If they're trading off, people aren't going to know. What are they getting attached to? And it's like, then they're annoyed when they leave. And then it's just so annoying to me. I don't know.
And
I don't even know if I'm being coherent.
No, well, it is very early in the morning, and that's okay. Yeah. But look, when the '98 championship, that was the Utah Jazz versus the Bulls, and you had Stockton and Malone and all these guys together, and as a Knicks fan watching that series. And I was a Knicks fan, never hated Jordan. I would just I respected him, didn't hate him. He would come to the Garden every year, drop 50 points. All right, Michael Jordan dropped 50 points against the Knicks, But when you're watching that, you enjoy it because the fact that these are guys that they've been together the whole time, they've been playing together the whole time. Tuning into this was a very boring finals for me. Tuning in, anytime I watched, I was just like, oh, here's those guys together. And I was rooting for the Spurs in the sense where, because, Tim Duncan's been there his whole career with the coach and a lot of those other guys, Ginobili and everything else. But
Duncan,
it's not going to stop. It's only going to get worse before it gets better.
You think so? I was hoping that, seeing the San Antonio Spurs win this championship against the Miami Heat, that this would send a message to the league that it would be attractive to stay with the team so long, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That Tim Duncan was there that many years. And
he
so
takes
was
less
Tony
money
Parker.
to be there, though. And, people with the money situation and a team like with Melo probably leaving.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson doesn't want him on the team in the triangle offense, and it looks like he might leave and go somewhere else. And the Knicks are going to probably do the same thing in a few years.
Yeah.
In a few years, they could have Rondo on the team, and they could have Kevin Love. And as a Knicks fan, it's weird. It's weird to think that we're just going to do all this and
you're excited when that awesome player comes to your team, but yet I don't think there's a real attachment to that person.
Right.
There's not, because you always fear like, oh, I hope he's happy. I hope he's satisfied with what happened or what team we have now. I hope he stays.
Yeah.
Rather than, no, this is a good guy. We know he's going to be around. He's it's like the players have to be dedicated fans of that team.
Right.
And that's what annoys me when they leave and go somewhere else. It's like LeBron is not a dedicated Cavaliers fan. Yeah. And so he left because he does not believe in the team that he played for. And that annoys me.
And he brought a duty Cavaliers team to the finals.
Yes.
And they lost because it was him versus, it was 5-on-1, and it didn't happen. And, and this is coming from a Knicks fan because all this LeBron hate that goes on. I don't get it because it doesn't make sense to me. And I watched the decision that night on ESPN. I was wearing my Patrick Ewing jersey. I got really excited because they were saying that the decision was taking place in Connecticut. And I was thinking, it was close to the Knicks, whatever the fact may be. So I sat there after he said I was going to South Beach. I was sitting there. I was upset. I had my Patrick Ewing jersey on. My wife Lisa said I was being an asshole. Like, it didn't matter. We could beep that out later, right? I guess we could say that.
Yeah.
We could say that overnight.
That's okay.
You can say that now.
There's different rules, I think.
There's different rules. There are no rules. Well,
right.
there's a lot of big matchups tonight, but we'll probably still be sleeping when the 7 o'clock games roll around after staying up all night talking with you fine people. But there's a few matchups that I just want to talk to you about. You know, if Phil Hughes is pitching against Boston tonight, and Phil Hughes is going up against John Lester. Now, Phil Hughes is having a fantastic year since leaving the Yankees, 7-2, 3.17 ERA. He's going up against Lester tonight. A pedestrian win-loss total. He's at 500, at 7-7, but a good ERA, 3.33. Phil Hughes, is he a start tonight for you in Fenway?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The recent Boston struggles have you thinking that Phil could possibly get a win tonight?
I think he's gonna. You know, I really have a lot of confidence in him, and I'd definitely start him up.
The other matchup, Matt Cain is going to be in Chicago, and he's facing the White Sox. And, you know, Matt came back from the disabled list, 1-4 record this year. It hasn't worked out, but 3.84 ERA. He's going up against John Danks, who's garbage. San Francisco is an excellent hitting team. And in the past, I would say you should start Matt Cain against a very weak Chicago lineup. But Abreu's a monster. That ballpark, you know, can give up some fly balls. Matt Cain has given up some fly balls tonight. I'm going to say bench Matt Cain. And John Danks shouldn't even be on your fantasy roster. I know you've had John Danks a little bit this year, even though you shouldn't. I told you that many times.
I like him.
I like him. He's good. But Matt Cain, I think you should ditch him tonight. I wouldn't start him.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna take you up on that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, why not?
Take a note.
I'm noting it.
Take a note.
Spill some coffee on me, and I'm going to take that note.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should. You should. Oh, man. Tanaka.
The stuff that used to spray in your throat?
That's it.
Yeah, that's at Tanaka?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you use that for bad breath.
He's 10-1, 2.02 ERA, and he's just been an absolute beast. You know what I mean? And we learned what beast is. It's the monster.
Yeah.
And we talked about that with the president. And, you know, this is one of those guys that every time he takes the ball, you know, he could pitch a no-no. He could pitch a no-hitter, go perfect game, go, you know, a shutout. He could do whatever. And when you get that in baseball, it's awesome.
And just to clarify, you know, beast would connotate sometimes a negative thing.
No. Right.
Right. Sometimes it would, but not in this case. Beast is good when we're talking about it in this sense here.
Beast is very good.
With Tanaka.
Beast is exactly where you want it to be.
Just like Tanaka. It was Banaka, wasn't it?
It was Banaka.
Just like Banaka on bad breath, Tanaka when pitching. A no-no.
We had a really good show today.
I think so, too. I think this was great. We got to do this tomorrow night. How about it?
I'll do it tomorrow night.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Show's over, folks. Thanks for joining us. And remember, life's a fantasy, and all we're doing is talking about a game. Much love, and we'll do it again real soon.
Goodbye, everybody.